Hi everybody, it's Rob again. Okay, so we've got to the second video and I'm going to see how many of these type of markets I can cover, and possibly maybe all of them in a single video, so as you don't have these 60-minute videos and all sorts of things. And it's silly for me to make a 30-second video. So large annual markets, those are by far your best markets if you can afford to do them. Very often they're 2 or 3 days, 4 days. I did ones that spanned 2 weekends and a whole week in between. Those were amazing. I always did very, very well. And yes, those are the ones that cost hundreds of dollars to book, many hundreds of dollars, sometimes 1,000. But if you're making $10,000 turnover because they are bringing huge amounts of people, then it's worth it. But again, only if you've got products that are well researched, set up, and blah blah blah. Okay. With any of these type of markets, by the way, I suggest you start networking with the people that are like-minded to what you do. I'm from Ontario in Canada, and I've done markets or been to markets in Toronto where it's big. Last year I went to a market in Simcoe, which is a small town, about a 45-minute drive from where I live. I live in Brantford, and I've got to tell you that it was an amazing market. Now, my point was that I'm telling you this for types of market story, is it is a large-ish annual market. It's only 1 day, or was it 2 days? I think it was 2 days. The fees were pretty good, and some of those traders, the market, the booth people, the vendors, were tiny little home businesses. They even allowed teenagers to have a free booth. The vendors were teenagers, and I thought it was fantastic. But at that market, there were at least, I don't want to lie, somewhere minimum 5, more like 10 of the real annual market, large annual market booth vendors. The kind that have got a 20 by 20 size booth with stuff to the ceiling, and you could see that they arrive with 2 truckloads. And no doubt they do very, very well. So, yeah, on that market, I would have made friends with all those people and said, oh, man, I'll see you in, what's it, next week? And I'll say, where? And you say, oh, aren't you going to be, or whatever, and don't con them. Okay, so then there's niche markets. So Comic-Con art markets will very likely be depending on your product. If you are very crafty and your craft is very close to being art, so for example, like these key rack holders that I make that are little villages, houses and things, and all really cutey and arty. I also do 3D animals, and so they could count as art, and I could do well on art markets. You've got to be careful though. For example, if you think you are crafty enough to be on art markets, people going to art markets to buy what they call real art, they think, hey, what are these crafters doing here? So if you look too crafty, in other words, if you're there with your candle or handmade soap, it's not going to easily work as well. And yet if they let you in, you know what, if it's no other market, do it right. Comic-Con, again, very, very niche. By the way, I've never done a Comic-Con. I've been to a few, and each time I'm always amused by the type of person that's there and the type of vendor that's there. And it just proves that niche is amazing. Okay, trade shows, I did very many of them in my life. Was I ever very successful on them? Generally not. Because if it's a trade show, let's pick one, travel show. I did quite a few travel shows. At that time, I was making hammocks. And so a hammock and camping style, but more patio furniture, worked okay with people with a travel or holiday mindset that were there for that. But another show that I'd go to, let's go with building. So now I'm at a home improvement show. They're going to come there and think, what's this? So if I did a home improvement show, I would put more of my real furniture. In other words, now I'm showing myself as a furniture manufacturer, not as a hammock guy or whatever it is. Can you see? So take care. Yeah, incidentally, I just want to interrupt here because I've got a bit of time to waste with you. On my trade shows, I would, because I knew they were kind of dead, they were normally expensive, by the way. And because I didn't do that well, I would simply just phone the auntie in charge of it, and you obviously had to have a day off and be ready. And phone and say, have you had any cancellations? Do you need me to pitch up and fill? And what's the cheapest I can do it for? Sometimes if they've had a cancellation or a no-show, they would rather just let you be on that spot that was booked for that guy for free. And I had days like that. I used to love it. I'd pitch up, and other people around me had paid hundreds for what I was getting for free. I tended not to tell them after a while, because then they'd start trouble with it. Okay, so let's get to other markets. What have I got here? Motorbike rallies. I'm going to talk to you about pop-up markets in a second. Music festivals. Again, adapt your product to the things. I did music festivals and bike rallies where I did very, very well, because they had 20,000 people staying over the weekend. I was there for 3 or 4 days, and these were 15 or 20,000 drunkards. Let's not call them drunkards, but party people. They were there to party, and the fact that there was a little sort of a little market area that they could get t-shirts and I've got no idea what else, my stuff, hammocks. Or when I did other things, I did temporary tattoos. They worked very well at bike rallies and music festivals. So again, depending on your niche, it works. Right, before I run away on the types of markets you can and can't do, I want to just talk about pop-up markets. I haven't yet. I have in the past, so I don't know where it is anymore. But what we call pop-up markets is commonly called that, is where very often where a shopping mall, incidentally, mall space. I haven't mentioned mall space in here at all. So let's just cover that in pop-up markets. It's where a mall or a store within a mall will let you put up a little marketplace, a table outside their store or inside their store, and sell to their clientele, because your product is related to their client base. So if it's a clothing store and you've got jewelry, that's cool. If it's a salon, a hairdressing salon, and you've got jewelry or perhaps even some clothing, so it can work. Now, for me, pop-up markets were such a hit and miss. Some of them are amazingly powerful, and others were, again, I'm sitting there looking around at everybody with their kids and walking around a mall, and I'm thinking, oh man, I should rather just be at home watching a movie. Now, I also advocate this many times on social media. I see people saying, the markets are so expensive, the market's this, the market's that, and then people tell them, just put up I call them a garage sale, but they put up your booth in your driveway. And I always think, oh man, if I did that here, I'd be lucky to make $50. And all I am doing, in fact, are irritating my neighbors, because they're thinking, oh man, we can't go out today. Rob's out there with his stuff again, and he's going to try and sell me one of his clocks. I don't have clocks. Anyway, so the point is that if you really do not want to pay people, or you want to just pay them a percentage, so in other words, if you do well, they do well, and if you don't do well, fine, you pack up and go home. Find a person who lives and preferably owns the property and isn't a tenant on a busy road, and arrange to be there every Sunday. And so every Sunday, you and even 2 or 3 of your friends set up your gazebos very visibly from the street. This would depend on your city's the rules, the bylaws. Are you allowed to do this or not? So check that you can do that. But anyway, you set up your booth every Sunday. You sit there on this guy's front garden, on his driveway, and you sell stuff. And that market will grow and grow and grow. And over time, you will become known as the guy. You need a bird feeder. There's the guy down on Colburn. Get one, so it does work. When they need a gift, it's, quickly, let me just get a bird feeder, whatever it is. However, I'm at 9 minutes. You can go now, or you can listen to this idea of mine. I suggest you get together with about anywhere between 4, 3 others and yourself, so 4 of you, or up to 10. And you allow each other as much space as you like, preferably 20 by 20 if you could. And each of you gets a trailer load of stock. I'm talking big, big, big mountains of product. And you pick a once a month, end of the month, and you pick a different city. And you literally create, and you call it pop-up market, but you don't. You call it, I've got no idea, exploding market or something. So that people remember you to come back for the next year and the next year and the next year. And so basically you become like the circus, where you pitch up and for 3 or 4 days, you have literally taken over an empty parking lot, an empty, or you've arranged with the city for a park space, you're on a baseball field. Whatever it is, you set up your own market. The 4 or 6 or 10 of you pay for advertising yourself. And I'm talking banners and Facebook advertising. You must pay. You must pay at least $100 each. And know that you're going to get, the more you pay, the more you will have feet. And if you do it wrong, the first year, you will have very few feet, and the next year you will have none. If you do it well and you pay a lot of money and you get thousands of feet and they all come there, incidentally, when you've done that, you can invite local food vendors in to feed the people. And they pay you towards your marketing. So they pay 100 or 200 to be there for the 3 days. Fine. And you've got 4 of them. So now you've got another, pick a number, $1,000 that you can spend on letting the world know you are the end of the month exploding market. And you really should give it a funny name, like I've got no idea, or you call it wholesale, stock clearance. Call it what you like and make it suit what you're selling, but it works. I have seen people do it. I've never seen people keep it up for years in a row, but it's a really handy thing. If you, especially, sorry about the confusion here. If there are local holiday spaces. So now, let's say over the whole of a December period, and by the way, this worked for me in South Africa because December is a hot summer holiday period. So maybe you do a July holiday period where you know that you're at a beach that is going to be very popular for an entire week and a half, and you arrange for a parking lot or the city to take over a portion of the beach. And you literally set up 10 vendors that are there every morning until 9 at night for an entire 7-day period. Honestly, it will work so well, and you will become a founding member that you can one day sell your space. Other people are begging to be on your show and all. Sorry about the long chat there for other markets and all sorts of markets. We will get on to other things next. Thank you. Cheers.